What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am BDLM, coming to you with episode number 34 of our Dota On Demand podcast. What is going on, man?
What is ongoing?
What is ongoing? What's been going on?
What has been going on in the ongoing?
Ongoing, presently, in the present.
I'd have to say, currently, I'm trying to open a buttermilk ranch sauce container from Chick-fil-A. It's proving to be immensely difficult. I think only, like, Thor himself could open this kind of... Oh, I just did it. Well, apparently I am Thor-like.
Oh! Well, there you go.
How are you
apparently
doing?
not child-proof, then.
Close, though.
Yeah.
How about you? What's going on with you?
I'm doing great. We're actually pretty on time, actually, I'm noticing. I thought we were going to be a little late today. We were a little late last week, I think. But, there you go, 7:03. I'm pretty impressed. Today we're actually going to be talking about the league that me and Jay have been casting for recently. Me, slightly hilariously. Jay doing quite well. And then, of course, the both of us together. Unstoppable.
Of course.
As usual. And then also the latest patch, which includes Disruptor and Undying, two new heroes added to Dota 2.
That is the game they are added to, yes. It's not like My Little Pony Princess or anything. They came into this wonderful game. I know, they need that expansion pack, but oh well, what are you going to do about it?
Seriously.
Yeah, so I guess, like you said, we'll open up with the Reddit League, the Dota 2 Reddit League, which, by the way, just might as well throw it out there in the beginning. If you are not familiar with Reddit, go to www.reddit.com, that's 2 Ds, /r/RDTL. And it'll bring you right to our subthreads that have, it's got the schedules of all these teams playing. It's got the caster links, including ours, of course. But you're already here, so you already know what that one is. And yeah, though, it's actually really cool because it's kind of bringing all these players from the Reddit community to, just this. First of all, shout out to Braaaiiinnzz. He is the creator and the coordinator of this league. And, really big props to him because this is... How many teams did you say it was? It was like 40 or 50 teams? It's an insane amount.
It's definitely a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I, just the games that we've been trying to get into and cast this past week, like, haven't been able to watch, like, many other competitive games or anything. It's really just been trying to keep up with this league. And it's actually been a lot of fun. It's been really exciting. I mean, there have been some lopsided matches. Maybe the team's not completely even, but there have also been some pretty awesome games to watch, and when you consider this is supposed to only be mid to high-level play, it's actually really competitive, and it's great to see people from the community actually getting to compete in something like this.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, yeah, just getting people out there, getting their names out there, letting them take the big screen, their shot of glory, whatever you want to call it. And then, like I said, it's all for fun because obviously this was created by someone in the league, and we're just doing this right now. There's no cash prize, nothing like that. It's more just your honor and your, like I said. And we've also, I think there's like 6 or 7 casters. It's a lot of casters. And actually, after the first weekend doing it, apparently Braaaiiinnzz was approached by like 5 more people like, hey, can I cast now? I want to cast. And he's like, dude, we've got a pretty hard time finding games for these guys in the first place, so probably not going to happen. But either way, it's been a lot of fun. So check out our stream as well as the other casters when we go live on the weekends. As you can see in our Twitch thing, if you are watching from there, it has kind of like a title at the top of it. And we will update that with the games we're going to be casting, so you'll have an idea of the next one we're going to do. So you can tune in then. Yeah, so I guess that's a pretty good summation of it.
Yeah, this coming week, actually, Jay's going to be solo casting all the games. And the weekend after that, it's going to be me by myself. And if you watch any of the games I did from before, it'll hopefully be hilarious. Not to actually watch the games, but to watch me try and blunder through XSplit. It's really a whole thing.
No, I was looking through some of the footage of you doing that, and
it's beautiful.
Well, the great thing is, I remember I was telling you, don't worry about pausing and starting and restarting the stream. I'm like, we'll do that. We'll edit it. It'll be okay. But of course, I realized afterwards that editing's a pain in the ass. So in that case, I just kind of was like watching this uncut footage, if you will. It's like almost like the behind-the-scenes bonus features. And there's one, of course, your face is blown up at the middle of the screen, and you have this like rap song on, and it's like one of the most annoying rap songs I've heard in a while. And you're just like beating your head to it, like saying the lyrics. I'm like, you have never been more white in your possible life.
I don't know, man. If you've ever seen me dancing in a club, that's a pretty just
Oh
legit
boy,
white
I'm so
boy
glad I
moment.
have not been near you when that has happened. Then.
It's great. I've been approached by girls and they're like, "You dance so awkward." I'm like, "Thanks." I think, and like, "Oh no, it's kind of cute." I'm like, "Great, it's kind of cute, and I'm really awkward. That's great. I'm glad that this is what you come to me with. I really do appreciate it." But it's been a lot of fun really casting these games so far. And yeah, I mean, you guys should definitely stop by, tune in, like Jay was saying, check out the other caster streams. But you know, you're always gonna have a special place in our heart. You can return home to the Dota on Demand stream, and then just have that much greater of an appreciation for all of this that we have going on over here.
Who was your favorite hero pickup in the games we casted or you casted?
Pugna? Oh,
Yeah.
that was just smart. So smart. Like that is where you just sort of like the meta game is one thing, but then when you're just like, oh yeah, this hero, this is what he does. He counters out big team fight heroes, these heroes that have really expensive spells. That's who he is just fantastic against. And just the person casting for Meows Meow Sports just did a really fantastic job there, because that was like not someone we've seen really in a really long time, but like I said, just sort of the perfect pickup for that situation, and was leveling up the Nether Ward throughout the entire game just to make sure that it was available as soon as his team needed it, not waiting to sort of put it off and then, oh crap, we have team fights now and it's only level 2.
Oh, very true. I'd have to say, since you didn't ask me back like a play person would, I would say my favorite pickup, besides Pugna, because you stole it. Now I actually have to think a little bit, because honestly I was like, oh, Pugna, I used to play him all the time. He was so cool.
We get to see Rubik.
Rubik, now that was definitely an interesting pickup, and he was run the middle, which is the way I prefer to see him in the first place. But yeah, just kind of just showing how powerful that spell steal ability really can be. Like they were against Nature's Prophet, he stole the Treant, summoning the Treants, was able to push lanes. Then he stole like Sprout and trapped him in his own trees. And it was just like rude. And of course, I don't think that was the only hero he was stealing from. But the point is, like, he just had so much versatility and like the ability to also catch people with that telekinesis. He did a great job with that as well. And he's a fun hero to watch in games as well, and that's pretty important, I think, at least as a caster.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there were a lot of actually pretty legit pickups. I was kind of expecting to see a lot more random picks, but a lot of these teams, even though they're not playing for money, picking very seriously and really picking up what they've learned from just playing in their own practice games and watching other professional teams go about their tournaments and such, and seeing how they look to pick and draft and go accordingly. So yeah, it's been really great fun so far to actually go ahead and watch that. How about we get into these? Or actually, do you have anything else to say about the tournament? I don't want to just
there was some things here and there, and I mean, like, obviously as more we do, we're probably gonna get a lot more experiences and cool things to see. The other thing that was actually kind of interesting, but it didn't really work, but I was interested in, was the Leshrac Enigma duo lane right off the bat. That the team tried twice in a row, and both times it kind of flopped. But I still thought it was a neat idea to like really try to get a really early advantage, but they kept getting shut down. But I don't know, do you like that kind of idea of like a really like maybe 6-minute tier 1 push and then maybe split off into the laning phase again, or what?
It was kind of neat, but it was like you could see with that sort of setup that it needed a couple minutes to just get off the ground anyway. So I think it would have been a lot smarter to maybe play Leshrac solo in the safe lane. Maybe, I forget who what their other lane was. But then just have Enigma sit in the jungle and get his own farm from the jungle, and then when he hits level 3, okay, now I pop out. Now I have some Eidolons, I've had my own farm, you've gotten some extra experience, I've gotten some extra experience from being in the jungle. They didn't have to play that as a duo to actually make that hard push effective.
Exactly.
So, but it was neat to see, and that's the thing that I think going into this I mentioned a couple times too. It's like, I'm just hoping to see just some nutty stuff, some off-the-wall stuff that we wouldn't expect to see. Because especially once you start watching professional games, you kind of forget like all the really random, crazy troll stuff that you did when you were just solo queuing when you first, like, what is this Dota game? I don't know what to do. You just, and it's great to see that kind of stuff, especially when it works out.
I would have to agree. So yeah, like I said, we're hoping for more. I've told every team captain before the game to pick Alchemist mid. Has not happened yet, but maybe eventually it'll wear on them and he'll accidentally click it or something, and then he'll be stuck with it because they'll say no gibsies backsies, and that's just the end of that. He'll have to play it.
I think I want to see Sniper. I don't know why. Because
I don't
in the
either.
back of my head, I just like part of me feels like, you know what? I feel like there's one situation maybe where you could totally be like, you know what? Sniper. Sniper would be good for right now.
Right. I already explained.
But
You pick him as a counter to Enigma to get headshot procs to interrupt the ulti.
yeah,
That is
and
solely his purpose.
Bane as well. I mean,
There you go,
you know,
another channel hero. Teleport from Nature's Prophet. To interrupt the teleport.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
so many great things.
so many of those three things that you can do. It's unbelievable.
Indeedly.
I don't think he would actually be useful against the heroes we're talking about today, unfortunately.
No.
But don't worry, there's going to be some. Won't be. But yeah, let's get into this first hero, Undying, a strength hero, a melee hero, and like Wisp from last week who was
True,
actually a
true.
ranged strength hero. So we gotta point that out now that he's
Differentiate those, yes.
a melee. Yes, as you like to point out, Jay has 4 abilities, just in case.
That sure does.
Decay, a stacking strength steal, and an AoE that deals a low amount of damage. It's actually very similar to Astral Imprisonment in sort of the stealing of stats respect. Soul Rip is a single target damage or heal ability that is based on the number of surrounding units of the target that you cast it on. It deals 25 damage to the units that are counted towards the damage or the heal. Tombstone creates an 800 health tombstone that actually spawns zombies every 3 seconds. These zombies will slow on attack, and when they're attacking a low health target, I believe it's 2, 3, and 400. Nope, that's not right, because there are definitely 4 ranks. Anyway, I believe the last rank, it's once they're under 400 health, they actually get a movement speed and attack speed buff, and they actually slow the target they're attacking. And then Flesh Golem, the ultimate, gets in this very cool looking alternate form that gives him an aura basically that increases damage the enemies take, slows them down, and it will also heal the Undying for creeps and heroes that die within that aura.
Just for a couple corrections here. Along
Go
the way.
ahead.
The tombstone doesn't start with 800 health. It scales as it levels up. It starts actually with 200 health. Because I think an 800 health tombstone at level 1 would be pretty difficult for those level 1 heroes to kill. Just throw it out there. But they actually do give gold when they're killed. It's not much. I believe it's like 7 or 8 or something. But they do actually give gold.
The zombies?
Yes.
Yeah, the Tombstone also gives gold.
Yeah, that gives
Lot
a
more.
huge chunk of gold. What is it,
Yeah.
100 or something? It gives a huge
Wait.
amount of gold. So it's worth killing for sure. It's also, but since it's a minute cooldown, obviously you're not like feeding it to them over and over. It's a very clutch situation spell. Very useful, of course, in those big team fights and whatnot. And a very, very interesting hero to say the least. He has a lot of both nice things about him, and then I think his downfalls are shortcomings, if you will. But I'll start with the positive, because you always want to start on a nice, friendly note, right?
Of course.
So, Decay is actually a really neat spell. I really like how it works, especially, of course, for a strength hero. Like you said, it's similar to the OD in the sense that as you use it, you maintain the buff as you steal it, so he gets these strength stacks, and he keeps getting more and more, and of course they only have a certain duration. But he can keep stacking them up, and it's a lot easier for him to stack these than for OD to get his intellect, just because it's an AoE. It's a target on the ground. So, if there's 3 or 4 heroes grouped up and he throws it on all of them, he's got 4 strength from every single one of those heroes. Very, very nice. And it's only a 4-second cooldown on the last rank. So every 4 seconds, he can steal 4 more strength from all these heroes. Very, very nice ability there. Soul Rip, the good thing about it is that it's a pretty decent nuke / heal, and the great thing is it could be either a nuke or a heal, so it's situationally helpful. My big concern with it is that pretty much after the 2nd rank, it's almost not worth leveling up beyond that. The reason is, my reason is, before you take that gasp of breath, is that the maximum units, the only thing, every time you level it up, the cooldown does go down, which is nice, okay, every 5 seconds, and the mana cost goes up, but the maximum units it can affect goes up every 5. So after the 2nd rank, it goes 15 and 20. But when you're in the laning phase at least, a creep wave has, about 8 to 10 creeps in it, and then if you have the maximum 2 heroes probably in each side, it's about 14 at the maximum targets that you could possibly draw from. But, that's still pushing it at the end of the day, and I just don't think you're going to have a ton of situations where there's going to be 20 units surrounding you. and I know what you're going to say, so go ahead, though. I'll let you have it. I know what you're going to say about them.
No, go ahead. Please tell me what I'm gonna say.
Pretty sure you wanted to say something about it's working in conjunction with Tombstone?
That is something to note. You can, while the Tombstone is spell immune, it can actually be targeted by the Soul Rip, so you can actually heal it, which is something nice to point out. But no, I was actually going to talk about what you were mentioning there at the end. It's like you pretty much get it to rank 2 during the laning phase, and then you're done with it until later. And then it's really situational to when you're actually going to be able to take full advantage of it. I guess really against pushing lineups. That's something I actually want to talk about once we kind of give the really general overview of our thoughts on the hero.
Right.
But yeah, it's kind of strange. The Tombstone, I think, is actually a really neat ability. Spawning all those little zombies, that's slow. And it's actually a pretty decent pushing tool or defending tool as well, because it will actually spawn zombies on all the creeps as well, so they get to attack those to help kill them quickly. And it's also going to be a pretty good way of stopping heroes from looking to attack you. And like I was trying to mention earlier, that 400 is actually the threshold for the Death Lust, I believe it's called,
Yes,
on the zombies. So support heroes in these ints that typically will have maybe like, let's say, 1,000 health towards the middle of a game. Okay, so 40% of your health left, and now you're triggering this ability. Like, it's really not that low of a threshold that you really have to be able to get heroes to be able to get these zombies to do more damage. And they hit about as hard as a creep, a little bit less than a creep.
Yeah, I mean, they don't do a bajillion damage, but they're really a nuisance, I think, is the most important thing to point out. It's just like, they're just so annoying to have to deal with, and obviously you're going to want to try to kill that Tombstone as fast as possible. I mean, like, some people are like, oh, well, you get gold off them, so it's worth it. Okay, you get, like, what, 7 gold every time you kill the one on you, but at the end of the day, that 7 gold, you're losing a lot of health for the trade-off, so it's, I don't know if that's necessarily worth it. The Deathlust buff, though, so they gained an extra 50% move and attack speed, is what that essentially is for the zombies. You know, like, that's huge. That's a big increase in their DPS, as well as chaseability. You know, just very, very effective overall. But one of the okay, here's one of the problems I have with him again. I'll go back positive, negative. You know, is that you'll say his ultimate does, but I feel like he severely lacks some kind of CC or way to kill people or chase them down, if you will. And I guess we'll go into the Flesh Golem more in detail now to kind of say how it sort of helps, but not really. When he turns his Flesh Golem, which lasts for 30 seconds, so another long duration spell, and only 75-second cooldown, so actually pretty, almost spammable, if you will. Basically what it does is it amplifies damage of everyone around it, like you said. And this is actually a pretty substantial amount, depending on how close they are, is how much they get amplified. It's a range. And then also, every time a plagued unit dies, so it's affected by this aura he has, the Undying is healed for a percentage of that unit's max health. And for heroes, it's actually higher than non-heroes. So it's actually a pretty big amount. And actually, it is Aghanim's upgraded, which I never even considered until I never even thought about until I just realized that increases damage amplification by 5%, and the percent healed by 4% on the hero death and 1% on the non-hero death. And then it also, on top of that, gives a 9% movement speed. So, not so much use for the slow there.
Yeah, it's really about that damage amplification, and I guess now that we've kind of mentioned everything, I can kind of mention that I was in my research this week to try and see, you know, how he was picked up, if he was ever picked up or whatever. I came across this guy's blog. I didn't write the name down because I'm a winner like that. That guy. He was like, you know, he was never really picked up in Dota 1, but you think about the way that Dota 2 is being played now with actually a decent amount of push in place, and these really sort of mid-game centered strategies, that's kind of where he's strongest when you think about it. So this might actually be the time that he has to shine, because he's going to be increasing damage amplification, which is great, especially when you're dealing with heroes that sort of have to rely on burst damage. So making the burstier to help ensure that it's effective longer. You know, because once heroes start to get more health and your spells start to fall off towards the later part of the game, this could just be that extra little boost to try and help make sure that they're able to be effective still. Yeah, I mean, and of course with the Soul Rip, you know, once you start having creeps pushing, you have more targets for your Soul Rip, and this is the kind of the situation where you might actually be able to get up to like the 20 units, like you were saying, to maybe be able to give a really big nuke or a really big heal to an ally.
I can see where you're coming from there. The fact that, like you said, he has a heal. Anyone with a heal can really help to any kind of push strat you have. Decay, of course, not the most effective because it doesn't affect creeps, but it only affects heroes. So that one's a little not as amazing for pushing. Of course, you have to be right up in their faces to use it because it's also a 625 range, which is kind of short for a nuke. But the Tombstone, you've already explained how that's really nice for pushing. Then the Flesh Golem. People also are just, I have to admit, you're freaking intimidated when you see this dude. He transformed from this, like, skinny little nothing to this, like, monster. I wish I had the picture on the thing, but you can look him up, and it's just, it's almost absurd how large and in charge he becomes with that thing.
It's like going from Ganondorf to Ganon. I mean, you don't
Wow.
know that because you suck, right? But anybody else who actually is a person will clearly understand that the change in size, and scale, and bossness going from Ganondorf to Ganon. I mean, he gets a lot bigger and a lot scarier. And yeah, I mean, like the slow is nice, but no, like you were saying earlier, it's sort of hard to like. In the laning phase, it's kind of nice because the decay will decrease the health of the people you're laning against, and it does a little bit of damage. It does do the strength removal before it does the damage, so it's not like, okay, what's the point of doing the damage? It will actually do some damage after they have their max health reduced. So you can say that that's actually kind of nice. So if you're paired up with a really bursty hero, there's some potential there to be able to take down a support very quickly. But he's a hero that seems to make a lot more sense once there are sort of 3 heroes in the mix, 3 or more heroes, instead of certainly solo or even in the duo lane. Like, okay, I don't really have CC, and I also don't really have a big nuke, but I am pretty useful if I have enough CC and damage with me to be able to try and take 1 or 2 people out.
This is a dumb idea, but I'm just
I'm sure it
curious.
is.
Oh, of course it is. I mean, I'm saying it, so it has to be. I support Undying. Hear me out. So he doesn't obviously have really CC. Tombstone, and by the way, I don't think we mentioned it, but the zombies actually have a minor slow associated with them as well. It's a 7% movement speed slow for 2.5 seconds. So there's more CC. Here's how I would build the ultimate, and yes, kids, this is a troll, in fact, thing, but hear me out. So, you go support Dirge, right? Or Undying, excuse me, we can't call him Dirge anymore. So what you have to do, you'll definitely rush your 2 points into Soul Rip, so you can heal as well as nuke. That's going to be your way of to do some good damage. You're going to definitely put at least 1 point to gate, probably max that out, or Tombstone. I'm not exactly sure yet because I'm just thinking of this build on the spot, believe it or not. And then, of course, you could aid, if you're going for more of that pushing strat, Tombstone obviously you prefer, but if you're going for more of a gank, then Decay I think you would prefer. But then, what's going to really tie all this together, are you ready for the item to tie this all together? Orb of Venom. That is how you set up all the ganks and kills in your lane. Yes. Orb of Venom. Very affordable as a support. Very affordable. 250 gold or whatever. It's really cheap. I don't care. It's really cheap. And then eventually you just go with Soul Ring, which is also pretty cheap. Or Ring of Basilius, if that's what you prefer. I like Soul Ring more, but either way. And then you just spam your heals and nukes, your little decays, and then you have that attack speed or the movement speed slow every time you melee. And that stacks with your Tombstone slow and your Flesh Golem slow. So, you know.
I'm not 100% sure why I'm even entertaining this, but who would you run support Undying with?
You got so many options. So
Very Vengeful Spirit, perhaps?
I mean, I was going to say Keeper of the
one.
Light, but not in the game, so, I mean, just unfortunately not the case. You could go Outworld Destroyer Undying lane.
That's hysterical.
Oh my god. You steal
needs to be
all the
done.
stats. Maybe even get like a silencer to robe and like to steal intelligence when someone dies into her aura. I don't know. Just go for like an all stat stealing lineup or something. I don't know. I actually kind of like Outworld Destroyer and Undying lane, completely honestly. The aura, obviously, he spams spells all day, so he can restore his mana very easily. They can CC with the Outworld at least a little bit. And then the slow from the Orb of Venom allows you to set up the kills with the auto attacks. I don't know. That has some potential. Maybe a bot game possibility soon to test this out.
I will gladly do this. I'll gladly do it in a real game because
Oh
it's
man.
just it sounds that terrible that I just want to see it.
Oh man. I'm thrilled with that idea.
That yeah.
You're welcome,
All right.
world.
Well, I'm glad you're done.
Yes. That,
Where were we before that? I've kind of had like the Men in Black like mind erase thing
well,
happen.
I think we were about to talk about how we were gonna run him in the lane, and then I just all of a sudden thought of the support idea. But did you already say the way I think you prefer him to be run, or that you've seen him in the pro scene at least?
No, he didn't really make an appearance in
Oh, that's
the
right, you
pro
said
scene, which is kind of unfortunate. But like I was saying, I mean, like that guy said, hopefully I can actually like leave a comment
guy.
on the video to give this guy some kudos because it was a really good point. He does, I think, have some sort of potential here to actually maybe be able to make an appearance in the professional scene. I definitely. It's kind of a weird thing. It's almost sort of like the Darkseer. Like, I don't know what you would sort of classify him as in a lineup. I mean, obviously you could say side lane solo, or a jungler. Yeah, but I mean, you'd have to run him in a lane, but it would be sort of as that tank support team fight hero, obviously. I think the Undying and Disruptor is interesting. I know, actually, we wanted to be able to get Bonk on this week because he actually has been playing both these heroes quite a bit, and we'd probably be able to get him a little bit chattier than last week. But yeah, I think I saw him going for the Undying and Disruptor several times. Going for the Pipe of Insight, I think, is another really good decision. So I think those are the key things. And like you mentioned earlier, actually, I think the Ring of Basilius and the Soul Ring are two really good pickups for him as well.
Absolutely, he is very mana intensive. If you play the Decay build at least, which I think is the typical way to skill up, is to max out that Decay. Maybe get the 2 points in Soul Rip first and then max. I mean, it can go either way. But obviously, you're lowering the cooldown, so it's down to 4 seconds, like I said. So that's going to be your main source of damage throughout the fight. A Tombstone also, I think, okay, I'll just say it outright. I guess I think Decay should be a priority. 2 points in Soul Rip, then max out Tombstone. Then I guess Soul Rip I would max out. I almost maybe want even stats over those. Maybe I get 1 more point and then stats. 20 units. How often are there going to be 20 units around? Now, actually, here's the very important question. Do the zombies count for Soul Rip?
I'm not sure.
That's a very important question.
We forgot to mention that Deathlust, or the attacks of the zombies stack, which is obviously very important. I'm actually trying to check now to see if there's a max number of stacks.
What stacks?
Somebody else. Of the slow.
Oh, the slow stacks? I didn't read that in the tooltip. This just shows our research today. Apologies for the research, but hey, I think everyone's a little fresh and new with this hero, so bear with us as we go through these kind of things.
Unfortunately, most of our week was actually consumed by the league matches. So, but yeah, definitely something to look into at some point. But I do think he actually winds up having to be sort of that tanky supporter. I actually heard some builds calling for mech, which might not actually be a bad decision. Sort of, I guess, playing into the support kind of role that you were talking about, being able to just be able to pick up those items. And I mean, the Tombstone actually, while it's a really long cooldown, you can use it to farm a little bit on the creeps because, like I said, it will spawn.
It's
with the
it's like
on
Queen
the
of Pain
creeps.
dropping her ult just for farm or something.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I don't know. Radiance for the lols.
Of course. Yeah.
You could be crazy and go Veil of Discord. It's actually one of his situational items.
You can't.
You can't?
No, you just can't. That's
You
a banned
can't.
item on him. It's banned.
Oh.
Tournaments, they don't allow that item on Undying because it's that troll.
That is
that
interesting.
It's actually, that item in general should just be banned from tournaments probably at this point.
Oh, come on.
It's just really
Wow.
the way to maximize the use of that is pretty limited. I feel like.
Not necessarily.
I like the way it functions. I like the or I guess I should word it. I like the idea of it, but there's a reason 0.0 pros pick up that item unless they're winning like 60 to 10.
Oh, that's not true.
Prove me wrong.
Actually, if you go Sand King, it is more beneficial to pick up Veil of Discord than Aghanim Scepter for your ultimate alone. It's actually really close with Venomancer's ultimate. And then, of course, you're increasing the damage that your teammates are doing as well. So it's not even just...
Did you get this from that guy's blog or something?
No. I've seen it done professionally.
Oh, okay.
So
you just don't have the names of the games,
Take
unfortunately. You're just...
I don't know any
blowing
names for any
smoke.
games.
That's okay.
It happens, though. Don't worry. People in the comments will back me up, I hope.
Probably. Actually, I did confirm that Soul Rip works with zombies. So
Yeah.
that's actually how you can get up to 20, I guess. That's like the only way you can get up to 20 is if, you're in a huge team fight and the zombies all spawn or something.
Yeah, but I will say that, like, I do like to go around and read, like, other guides that people have written for heroes and stuff, and actually, it seems to be mostly for the consensus that people like to get to, because, like, the possibility of you actually being able to get the full benefit of anything more than the 2 ranks is very rare. Because you also have to think, too, right? Like, if you're casting it on somebody like a ranged hero, they might be too far away from some creeps, right? Like, they might be too far away from your ranged creep, for instance. So, all things you have to take into consideration.
It's true. I'm down with that. I am. Another kind of thing that we didn't really mention, but his stats, he has 2.1 strength gain per level and 2.0 int gain. So it's pretty much almost the same amount of int as strength, and I think that kind of just reflects in his abilities, the fact that how much of a nuker he truly is as a strength. And I think when you compare him to Darkseer, that was really interesting, but I think a great way to compare it, probably the closest thing to him in the game is that Darkseer. Of course, their abilities are really different, but the fact that he's going to be on the front lines, trying to do as much AoE damage as possible, doesn't have quite the wall, I guess, ability to compare to. But either way, just one of those team fight in-your-face heroes. Unfortunately, he cannot jungle, so otherwise I'd say put him there every time. Kind of like the Treant. I'm like, throw those strength heroes at the jungle, because I just don't like him in the laning phase. But he has a lot more than Treant does, that's for sure. At least he has some kind of nuke or something here.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, too, to, like, kind of compare Undying to the Darkseers, neither of them sort of have, like, a CC, per se. I mean, Darkseer, like, legit has nothing. I mean, he has Vacuum, but there's no actual, like, slow or stun in his kit. I mean, at least Undying does have some slows to kind of bridge that gap. But he doesn't have the ability to sort of take that suicide lane. He doesn't really have the ability to jungle. So that's where you kind of don't see him being picked up.
Just really quick, I know you kind of did, but I'm just going to just quickly run over it again, because we're going to definitely move on. I can't believe we spent this much time talking about Undying. This was the part I thought I was going to spend the most time struggling, because I'm like, I don't know much at all, but apparently I have the best support build in the game. But anyways, so obviously you're going to go, like we said, Soul Ring or Ring of Basilius, I think, pretty much every time. Or Arcane Boots, I guess, could be another way. I think kind of like how we explained Chaos Knight, he's a very mana-intensive strength hero that you're just going to want to have some kind of regeneration or something to work with. And then I think your idea of Pipe is a pretty great one at that. Vanguard's another popular thing on him. To just continue being a tankier thing. Kind of like you see Darkseers get Vanguard often as well. It's usually either one of the other. It's either Vanguard or Pipe, depending on your situation, what your needs are. But I think either of those tanky items are going to be really beneficial. And then after that point, I mean, anything that really just adds to tankiness is probably going to be your ideal bet. Or even, dare I say, a Rod of Atos. Just going just crazy. And I don't know. Maybe not, but I like it.
It's okay, you can dream. I actually kind of do. I'm still thinking about this mech as well. That seems kind of very interesting to me too, especially because he's going to be running around the thick of things anyway. So you're definitely going to have opportunities to put the mech down on several heroes, and I do like the Pipe as well. But again, you're running into this problem of like, okay, well, Darkseer, right? He's in the jungle or he's in the side lane solo, so he's farming. So when is Undying actually going to get this farm? Are we supporting him in a dual lane? All right, well, so we're supporting him so that he can get these like support items, basically, instead of putting a hard carry or sort of like a mid-game carry. Like, I think that's where it sort of starts to get weird, is you're really not sure how this is actually all supposed to work out in the actual laning phase.
He belongs in, I believe, mid-game winning strategy. Because, yeah, I don't think you're going to go into late game with Undying. He doesn't scale. I mean, the damage amplification kind of does, because it helps your whole team out in that regard. But, yeah, I mean, his 4 strength gain is going to really start not being as effective later on in the game. This Soul Rip, while it is a pretty powerful nuke, also not that amazing. The flesh golems are going to just see them drop pretty quickly. The zombies, not the flesh golems. There's not multiple of those running around. That would be kind of insane if that was the.
Aghanim Scepter Upgradable actually creates a second zombie that you can control. Second golem.
I was gonna say how cool it would be like if the zombies got that death lust. They kind of like were mini versions of his flesh golem, where they got huge.
That'd be pretty fun.
That'd be really sweet. Probably never gonna happen, but I think that'd be cool.
Nope.
Oh, well.
It's okay.
Okay, I think we can finally move on from this crazy hero and go
Yeah, how
into
about you
one
take
we
us
actually,
into Disruptor?
yeah, we have a little more to work with here. So Disruptor, who was previously known as Thrall in Dota 1, but he of course had to get his name changed up just for a possible
Why is
couple
that?
reasons. I don't know. It seems like a normal. I was going to name my son Thrall actually, so I mean it's just a very common name. At least in the States it is. I don't know about other countries, but but yeah. So Thrall, my son. Disruptor is going to be an intelligence, not intellect. It's like you with Steam Boots. It's intelligence, not intellect.
Yep.
Intelligence ranged
Good
hero.
catch.
Thank you. Although I was very angry about it. Has a 600 attack range, so one of those maximum range, good for harassment and whatnot, which is awesome. He has these 4 nice abilities. Number 1 being Thunder Strike, which damages in an AoE around the target. It has 3 instances of damage over 4 seconds. So every 1.33333333. Wait, am I doing the math right? It's different than that. You understand. I'm not going to try to do too much math, guys. We don't have our math major on here, so I'm not going to... We should just have Will come on and just do like the math problems for us. And then
There you go.
Anyways, now we're looking into his other ability, his next one being Glimpse, which teleports an enemy to where he was 4 seconds ago, and it instantly kills illusions. Then he has Kinetic Field, which is really neat. And basically, this is after 1.2 seconds, a circular barrier appears that enemies can't pass through or leave. So it's like a wall, a circular wall, if you will. That's exactly what I said, probably. And then Static Storm, before I look any stupider, is his ultimate, which silences and damages in a radius over time. I believe the duration is 5 seconds, and as you say here, the damage increases over time. So it starts out small and then ramps up throughout the 5-second duration. So, boom! What do you think?
He's very strange. I think because I'm still not sure how I want to skill build him personally. He is actually a hero that gets picked up competitively, and actually I was doing some research just before the show, and there's a tournament. The VODs that I found were uploaded yesterday, so I believe fairly recently. This was played MSI Overdrive, which I believe is a Filipino tournament. I can be wrong here. But he was actually played roaming. He was played in some dual lanes with ranged heroes, interestingly enough. And I think that's in large part due to how strong particularly Glimpse and Static Storm are, and the kinetic barrier is actually pretty good too.
Yeah, Kinetic Field plus a ranged hero makes it's like it kind of reminds me of Sprout, except you can't use a Quelling Blade to get through it. Definitely, really, I think synergizes with ranged heroes the most in that regard. And then, of course, the beautiful combination for him, he has his own combination, which is cool and own. If he uses Kinetic Field, traps heroes, and then uses Static Storm, they're all pretty much effed, because they're trapped in this area that's just the perfect size for Static Storm to hit everyone in it and silence them and do damage. I just love how that combination works so well.
Yeah, it is a really good setup, actually, and I think the other cool thing about the way his spells interact with one another is, I imagine the really good disruptors are going to be putting up kinetic barriers and then waiting like a second and then glimpsing somebody back into the kinetic barrier. Because a part of the problem you see is because it's a 1.2 second setup, it's very obvious when it's going up. This hero's just move out of it, and Disruptor doesn't really have a slow or anything like that. Get another hero without really any kind of hard CC per se. It's really sometimes hard to catch people inside of it, so you're actually going to have to be glimpsing people back to where they were and be keeping kind of a good idea in your head about, okay, where were they 4 seconds ago? Put the barrier here, now glimpse them, and make it work like that.
Quick note, it's actually Kinetic Field, not barrier. So, just want to throw it out there for you. I don't know where you get your facts from when you do these things, but
I thought barrier sounded better.
you know it does. I
Yeah.
honestly prefer the word barrier over
Oh, my
field
bad.
any day of the week. That's okay. I think people were understanding where you were going with that, especially because there's an icon there, so it's pretty obvious what you were going for. But yeah, just all his things are really neat abilities that can work well, and like they can synergize with other people in the game, which is another great thing. Kind of unlike Dying, I think, in that regard, how his abilities don't really synergize as well. This guy can work with a lot of different heroes. We've talked about how Glimpse. Obviously it's going to bring someone back. The fact that it's 1800 range in the last rank is enormous, but also kind of requires you to have a lot more vision than you would normally have in a game. You'll probably buy definitely a lot more wards, or if you don't buy any at all, hey, you're going to start when you play this hero, because vision is really important for this hero to succeed. But another great thing that helps you with that vision aspect is Thunderstrike. When you cast it on a target, it grants vision during the whole 4-second duration. So that is really,
Yes.
really helpful, because let's say you cast it on Queen of Pain and she blinks away. You still see her because of the Thunderstrike, and now that 1800 range glimpse, you can snap her back because of that vision. So, but an important thing also to note is that if a target you cast, like let's say Ricky, you cast it on him, but then he goes invisible, he will still get hit, but he will not be visible. It's not going to give vision of him. So something important to note there.
Yeah, definitely. I actually, this is kind of what I was mentioning earlier. Is I'm really not even sure how I would prefer to level him up, because a lot of people seem to like Thunderstrike because, like, oh, it's really good harassment.
Hey, damage! Yay!
Yay! And the other cool thing is, like, if you cast it on like melee heroes, right, they sort of have to run away from the creep wave a little bit, like, or else they'll be damaging their own creeps. Possibly giving you some creep kills, or have to maintain a safe distance from whoever's trying to support them. That actually has to be something you have to keep in mind. But I mean, Glimpse is by far, I think, his best ability, and that decreases in mana cost, decreases in cooldown by 10 seconds each rank, and then increases the range by 400. It scales fantastically as you put points into it. And then Kinetic Field, I mean, just putting points into your CC is, of course, nice. It actually gets up to 4 seconds at the last rank. You get an extra half second per point in that. So, I mean, I think what I've kind of come down to the conclusion of is, maybe like 1 point in Thunderstrike and then really looking to prioritize Glimpse and Kinetic Field after that. Or maybe even just putting 1 point in a Kinetic Field, maxing Glimpse, and then prioritizing Thunderstrike after that.
Yeah, the thing with the glimpse leveling, I agree. I think it's probably each point in that is probably the best spent point. Like, you gain the most from spending that point, but at the same time, it's not rewarding, or it doesn't feel rewarding when you spend those points in it. Because at the end of the day, let's say you spend 3 points in it instead of Thunderstrike. Well, at that point, it's down to now a 40-second cooldown instead of a 60-second. You're still going to be waiting on that for a long time, and although 10 seconds is a big deal, it's still a very long cooldown. And then the range, of course, I mean, that's nice, but like it's a very situational move compared to Thunderstrike, where Thunderstrike you're going to always want to keep spamming on people to do damage, whereas Glimpse, obviously if someone's just standing there taking it or something, you're not going to use it. You're using it more or less when they're running away or they're chasing down one of your friendly units or vice versa. So, I don't know. Like, while I do, like I said, I like putting points into it, I'm not exactly sure that it's rewarding or it feels right doing it.
Yeah, that's true. The one thing that I did think was interesting when I was kind of doing some additional research, people are actually not sure if they like leveling up the ultimate, which I think is interesting. The Dota 2 wiki is actually nice enough to put up the total damage dealt, because you sort of can't really tell very easily through the game. But actually, as you level it up, it does 446 damage, then 551 at rank 2, and then 656. So you're only gaining 100 points a rank. So some people are like, yeah, pick up the first point, which will give you your 5-second silence. You get like the range, the radius, all that stuff stays the same. The only thing that changes leveling it up is the damage, and then an increase in mana cost as well. Some people are like, no, just put it off till later, and then just save the mana and just use it for the utility, which is really what that spell is great for.
Absolutely. So yeah, I don't. I think actually, like you said, most guides are going to tell you do not put your points in your ultimate until like your last 2 points. Your stats are even a better choice in that regard, just because, like you said, only thing, I mean, barely any damage increase and mana cost increase compared to your other abilities, just not worth it ultimately. But if you're going for a super AOE comp, maybe that extra 40 damage a second that has to ramp up will be worth it. I don't know, but I would probably guess to say no. Another really important thing to notice about Glimpse, though, is that it's not instant cast, it's not an instant snap back to 4 seconds ago. There's a cast time or a kind of like a travel time for the spell. So actually, depending on how far you are from the hero, is how long it takes for that Glimpse to come into effect. So let's say you're at that max 1800 range. That thing you shoot out, I actually have been a while since I've seen it, so I don't remember exactly what it looks like. But the cast animation for it, while it's traveling, you know, they could still be on the run or whatever, and then eventually it snaps back. Or if you're right next to him and you cast it, then instantly he'll pretty much instantly then go that 4 seconds behind him. So it's definitely also there's kind of some nuances there about like how far away you are, like, you know, obviously if depending on where you want that guy to be, that kind of thingamajig.
Thank you for that.
Well, it's important to explain, I think. I didn't actually know that until I read that earlier, like a week or two ago.
No, I just meant the way you formed that sentence.
No, it was terrible. It was absolutely... Like, I was wondering why people are on me about my grammar. That's why. That is literally why. I need to, in my off time, probably, like, do some third grade, like, English books or something, but until
there you
then...
go. Some Dick and Jane books. It's okay. The primers will get you through. But that's kind of the nice thing, though. I mean, the kinetic field has like that 300 radius, so it's like if you guesstimate pretty well with the kinetic field, you'll probably catch them. But the other thing to mention, sort of about that kinetic field, is it's sort of similar to the Sprout from Nature's Prophet, in that it's not like actually doing anything to you except stopping you from being able to move. So you can actually just blink out of it if you're an anti-mage or a Queen of Pain. You can also force staff your way out of it. And, of course, you can cast spells so long as Static Storm isn't on top of you, and you can also auto-attack. I was actually watching a video not too long ago of some Dota 1 Disruptor highlights, per se, and I thought it was funny that actually Gyrocopter was comboed up with him quite often, just because of the massive amount of AoE damage he's able to do. And here's a lock everyone in that little circle, press your button and laugh. As they just get destroyed by the AoE. And Clockwork Goblin, too, was actually a pretty neat one as well.
Are you shocked that he hasn't been really picked in competitive games, that Gyrocopter?
I'd love to see it.
He has been used, actually, about twice, I think.
Yeah,
but,
I haven't gotten to watch his games yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, there's reasons that he's probably not picked up. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, obviously, he coordinates, like I said, with that AoE comp for his ultimate and for his barrier. I mean... I won't go barrier. I like it better now anyways. It's just barrier at this point. And then, of course, the glimpse for situational things. All around, very interesting hero. And then, of course, now let's get into the role game here. Obviously, I feel like he does both really well. And when I say both, I mean the solo mid, as well as a support in a lane. But which of those, I think, do you prefer for him?
I actually saw the most of him in the lane as sort of a support, and also actually as a roamer, interestingly enough. Because I think he's sort of similar to Undying in the sense that, like, once you start putting him with other heroes, he starts making a lot more sense, because if you have a stun or a slow to help stop your kinetic field, obviously that's a lot better. And even though your Thunderstrike doesn't do a ton of damage, that extra little bit of damage you're doing can certainly help seal somebody's fate. And then, of course, Glimpse will stop anybody from running away and then pull them back into the 2 or 3 heroes if you are looking to roam and gank another lane. But yeah, I mean, like, I guess I can understand him as a solo, but I don't know. I think he's certainly much stronger as a support or a roamer, personally.
I can see both instances, honestly. I feel like he's kind of similar to how Rubik functions if he goes solo, just because the items he build will just be pretty heavy int or heavy... supporting items for his team, like a Force Staff, a Yule's perhaps, and dare I say a Veil of Discord could be pretty deadly on a hero like this. Dare I say
you
it.
should never pick up
I said
Veil of
dare
Discord.
I have yet to dare. but I could dream. Medallion of Courage, actually, another interesting choice on him, but that's probably more of a support item than anything. But either way, I think I like him like as a ganking hero. I think he's obviously very effective at that with the barrier. And by the way, I actually have to go back because I remember saying I like 2 ranged heroes because of how the kinetic barrier, I want to keep calling it barrier, kinetic field works. But I said it works like Sprout. Well, obviously it's a lot different though in the fact that your allies can walk through it while the enemies can't. So melee still works just as fine as a ranged hero. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it really matters if you have 2 ranged or just him in a melee. As long as you have someone that with some nice DPS on top. I think him and Ricky could be best friends, honestly. Putting that smoke cloud down to silence them and slow them, make them miss while you have a good trap on them, could lead to some really good results.
I personally think it's a little bit overkill because then you have 2 AoE silences.
Is there such thing as an
Seems a little
overkill?
strange.
Too much
I don't
silence,
know.
really? Too much silence?
Yeah.
Oh no, they can't cast spell too long, guys. Don't run that comp. Oh, that's terrible.
I mean, you know, in a team fight, the odds of those 2 things overlapping one another are probably decent. So I don't know.
It also
I mean,
gives
I'm not
slow,
saying
also
it's
gives
terrible.
it also gives slow and miss chance on top of that. It's not just for silence, you know.
I'll go with friends. I don't know about best friends. Best friends seems
How about friends with benefits?
maybe
Yeah.
you know that one might work
They
out. I
call
don't
them late
know.
at night. Say like, "Hey man, I was
Yeah.
thinking about glimpsing you today."
Yeah, just put you back behind. Never mind. You know, it's just yeah. Whatever. Anyway, I've got pictures in my head and I can't. Oh, Ricky
Please get them out.
backstabs. That's terrible. No,
Oh no! Yes, he does.
Yep. Typical supporty items, so I think are kind of on the lines for this year. I could definitely see something like Force Staff 2 would be just another great item. Something another positional play if you are up for that kind of thing. Certainly Arcane Boots are the way to go. I think it's kind of hard to argue anything else unless you wanted to go Tranquil just for the sake of having something cheap.
No tranquil.
Okay.
I'm gonna shut that idea down. Phase boots possibly. Just add your damage and your movement speed. Able to keep up with people to glimpse them when it comes off cooldown. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I think those are pretty typical things. We'll probably see him, like you said, play support for the most part because that is what he does best: is set up kills. And how about a disruptor on Dying Lane? Would that work? Since they both are new heroes.
I actually wonder. I mean, right?
I mean, I know we tried it when it first came out, and it was pretty embarrassing, needless to say.
Well, I don't think either of us really
No.
had a handle of what was going
Not at
on
all.
either.
Not at all.
But I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's not horrible, but again, you don't have any like stuns or anything, so it's kind of weird. I don't know. I probably wouldn't look to run it too often, but it might work out better than Luna Wisp.
I don't know, man. Wisp with all of those
Oh,
wave
actually,
throws, gonna be pushing lanes like a boss. And then the gank potential. She'll just drop her ult. How is that not a good combination?
well, for like right. Well, yeah, okay, but
yeah,
like
you just
laning.
get wrecked.
you know.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, okay,
It's okay.
it's fine.
Speaking of Luna, I want to also mention from this patch, but Rubik, Wisp, and Luna, well, obviously Rubik, but Wisp and Luna are also in Captain's Mode. All 3 of those heroes entered in with this patch that came out. So that's really cool. We're expecting to see more Wisp. Actually, he's getting banned in some of these games recently. I mean, just proving to be a really awesome force, but at least I was disappointed. I'm sure you were too, in that Reddit league, how no one picked or banned him in any of the games we cast him, which was a lot of games.
I was seriously want to just like put on the gamer gloves, right? I'm like, nah, let me in here, guys. I'll pick the Wisp. Don't worry. I'll let me get my hands dirty. I'll get some wins in here for you guys. But no, unfortunately, no dice
Wow.
yet.
Apparently, you can select your favorite hero and gear to showcase in your profile.
Oh, I've done that already.
I
Don't
haven't
worry.
even. Is Venomancer? Or is it Wisp?
It's Wisp.
Oh, okay. Poor Veno got kicked off the pedestal.
Well,
That poor
you know,
guy.
I mean,
What can you do?
what can you do? Yeah, exactly.
Indeedly. So, yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, it for Disruptor.
That might be it for the
Are we
the
pretty
whole
much wrapping it up here?
Caboodle. I think so. think we're out.
Wow, we're fresh out.
Well, I guess we have a lot of stuff to plug now all of a sudden. I mean, you guys should totally check out the Reddit League. You can, of course, watch us do the cast of the games, or go ahead and check out some of the other people. That's cool as well. Just go ahead and give that a look-see. And as always, you can check us out here on the Twitch, on the Facebook, like us there. We said something about having a guest this week. We were actually going to try and get Bonk on again, but he went on vacation, so we weren't able to get him in this week. But next week we were going to try to have our special guest on, if everything works out.
As it should. Also,
another
quick thing. We actually now have our podcast available on Stitcher, which is a website as well as an app on your phones or iPads or whatever. So Stitcher, pretty easy to spell. I actually just recently worked with the person to get our latest XML up to date, so now all of our episodes should be on there, as far as I know. And actually, we were just featured today. We got featured by them as one of their new hot trends. So look out, Stitcher world. Here comes the Dodd,
hot, right?
The Dodd trade.
It's a rollin'. Yeah, and also, if you guys would like to support us, we do have a nice little donate button. I probably won't mention it anymore because I don't want to beg you people for money. But of course, some of the programs and stuff that you actually have to buy to make this stuff work are a little expensive. And of course, we always want to be able to add new hardware, new software to be able to make this as best as it can possibly be. Jay wants a flip cam for the International 2, and we also would love to be able to get Bonk a webcam so we can see his pretty face on the show when he decides to come on from time to time. So, these are all things that we would really, really appreciate you guys helping us out with. We would greatly appreciate it. But you know what? Just tuning in and watching, that's enough for me. So, hopefully we will see you guys during the week. Next weekend, watch Jay as he looks to go ahead and cast games for the Reddit League, and catch us next Tuesday for episode number 35 of our Dota on Demand podcast. See you guys later.